Hi, I'm Steve Pond from TheWrap. We're here at the Toronto International Film Festival, and I'm pleased to welcome three cast members from Eden: Ana de Armas, Daniel Bruhl, Sydney Sweeney. Welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations on a crazy film. And I think the craziest thing about it is that it actually is true. I mean, can you tell me what was your reaction when you first saw this material? Anna, did you know anything about this story?
No, I had no idea about it, and I definitely thought it was crazy and it was very brave, and it's just the unthinkable. And when it is true, if they don't tell you it is true, and you see testament of it, a documentary or newspapers or whatever you can find, it's hard to believe that these people back then in the 30s embarked on a trip to an island to start from zero.
We should say this is basically a bunch of people who go to a remote part of the Galapagos to basically live by themselves, right?
I was amazed that apparently these people must have been so traumatized and desperate because of the horrors of the aftermath of the First World War, that it wasn't enough to go to Southern Europe to a remote place, that it wasn't enough to go to, I don't know, I live in Mallorca now, to go to a remote place on whatever island, but within Europe, to escape civilization and to look for a different, rural kind of life. But as the whole soil in Europe was spoiled and the experiences had been so horrific, they were willing to really explore and go to the end of the world, to such a harsh environment. Not the coconut paradise island, but like to such a dangerous place, such as the Galapagos Islands. And that was very impressive for me to see when I saw the first footage. I think I saw it on YouTube, the documentaries about them 20 years ago. I already heard about the story of these crazy Germans. So when Ron asked me, I was all in.
Sydney, was it hard for you to wrap your head around what would cause a person to do this?
You know, I actually think about it a lot of being able to escape and find a new land and start anew and what that experience would be like. And when I got sent the script and I was reading, I you read all these crazy characters, there's no way that they all are real and they all come together and they have all these experiences. But then I went and I read Dora's book and I read Margaret's book and I found all the newspaper clippings of all their stories and it's the most wild account of people just put together. And I mean, they traveled 8 months to even just get to the Galapagos, and just the determination that they had to create their own world. It's the most fascinating look at human and mankind.
I mean, I feel like, they always say science fiction movies aren't about the future, they're about the present. And I feel like movies set in the past often are just as much about the present as they are about this era. I mean, do you think does this movie resonate today?
I did it myself. I went from a place where I felt like it didn't work for me anymore, and I found my little piece of Eden, my heaven, and it's the best thing I've ever done. And then, yeah, and it doesn't, sometimes you feel like you have a clean slate, you want to start from zero and do your thing, and you can forget that you bring yourself with you. And at the end of the day, I think in the island, for example, uh, it is like extreme conditions and it's a rough island. It's not like coconuts and fire, waterfalls and stuff like that. But I feel like the island is kind of like a reflection of themselves and what they do to each other, and it spits them out the same way they're handling the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also have the impression that, post pandemic, because the pandemic was also a very dark chapter that, made so many people contemplate and rethink, or questioning the way of life that, they were living, and so did we also as well with my family. So we moved to an island and away from a big city, and then what you realize is that you need community once you are on the island. And this tale is also about, will these people find paradise, because this is what they're looking for, away from the horror, and trying to build something new, positive life, a life where a family can survive and they can build up something which means something and find new purpose in life. But what happens if the community does not match? Then paradise can easily be lost. So this is what happens in this film, without giving away too much. But what happens when 3 or more individual parties come together with their own agendas, individual agendas and egos? Will it go well or not?
Well, Sydney, I have to ask about the scene that everybody talked about after the movie, where your character basically gives birth by herself in a cave. I mean, what was you've had your difficult pregnancy segments in movies before, but what was that like?
Well, I hope I'm prepared for childbirth now.
And I hope it's a lot.
I hope it's a lot
nicer
easier
and
than that.
smoother.
We shot that series of scenes that all kind of climax together over the course of multiple days. And I think the craziest part is most of the time I actually had the camera attached to my body. So there's this big, huge, pipe system that was around my waist, and I was carrying the camera by myself and filming most of the close-up shots of when I get to the cave or when I fall on the floor and I stand up, and I'm holding the camera on me as I'm shooting that. So it was just it was definitely a different way to do a scene, and it was really challenging but fun.
Do you get a camera operator credit?
I don't know.
Well, I think we're out of time, but congratulations and thanks for coming in our studio.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks.